Good morning, everyone. It appears that I am heard and that you can listen to me through the speakers and via translation. My name is Tako Popma. I stand here to tell you a little bit about something that we call brain flow consolidation. I do this in the capacity as an external advisor, supporter to the Brain Flow Consortium at the starting point of an exercise that we call the capitalization or the consolidation of brain flow results, which is in a way a very sophisticated manner to say that we are about to make the step to grab and make the most of all the individual results and outputs that this brain flow program has been delivering through its separate activities and projects and events, etc. Basically, the whole event today, the Talent Cup and the near finalization of the sub-projects of BrainFlow marks the start of this exercise. So we thought it was a good idea to briefly tell you what this is all about. Now, very quickly, for those of you that have missed the information yesterday or are not aware of what BrainFlow is a cooperation project that is funded by the European Commission. It has been running for a few years. It's a cooperation between 7 European countries, 8 border regions and their authorities from these 7 countries that have been working together on the issue of brain flow. You see a map here where these countries are coming from. We have representatives from the north, the east, and the south of Europe, so a very diverse and representative mix of what Europe is about when it comes to binding and growing talent. Why brain flow? Brain flow started out a few years ago based on the challenge that a number of regions felt to do more to ensure that they have the sufficient and properly skilled, talented workers, highly educated workers that can fuel their economy and fuel innovation in their economies, and that this was not a given, that you need to work hard to actually make this happen. And an added challenge that many of the partners in this project share is that they are, in fact, within their own countries, border regions. Now, border regions tend to be a little bit in the fringe of their national economies and their national socio-economic situation, and therefore sometimes they don't have the same facilities that the core areas of certain countries do. So an added challenge there that called urgently for more and newer and better measures in these regions to work on talent and skill. And this is basically what BrainFlow was born from. As said, it's a European cooperation project. It's structured in a quite sophisticated way. BrainFlow is a program in a way that has been running for 4 years, where the partner regions that you saw on the map have been working together to exchange their experiences, to organize events, to get together and collect and share their best practices. But a very important layer of the project, or of the program, has been to develop and support a certain number of so-called sub-projects. So this is where the regions that are in the partnership handed over the stick, in a way, to actors within their own regions to get together and work on their more detailed fields of expertise in relation to skills and talent management. Throughout the program, there have been 3, let's say, thematic priorities that were addressed in every activity or in every event. And these are the need to work on the attractiveness of regions for talent and skill, on support to the economic sectors that are key in regions, also in terms of their human capacity facilities, and on the higher education system as, let's say, the source or the fuel for generating new talent within the regions. Now, the whole process, I briefly introduced it already, but it was based on the notion that everybody is doing something well in their region, but can learn more from other regions and other partners. So there has been a continuous process of exchanging experiences, transferring knowledge from one region or partner to the other in order to, increase the policies and the capacities of every partner in the program. As a result, you would end up having sort of a common knowledge base, a set of tools and instruments and policy approaches that you can take from what is most appropriate for your situation. And in the end, you can implement this and make sure that every region and every actor within the region is capacitated to the maximum to actually achieve growing and retaining and managing skills well, under their responsibility. So you have these sub-projects. I will very briefly introduce them because we will be hearing much more about them today, and who can better tell us about what they're doing than the actors in these projects themselves. We've had 8 sub-projects supported through the BrainFlow project, and well, they dealt with such varied issues as well, general best practices for retaining and attracting skills, focusing specifically on the potential that you can get from working with your alumni, so the people that concluded your higher education well, processes, or from your higher education institutes in your area, but also the higher educated people from your area that studied elsewhere. How can you get them back and work in your economy? The human capital dimension of cluster strategies has been addressed by a project. The more general principle of what is quality of life, how can you make sure that you have a life quality in your region that is as attractive as possible to keep the people that you want to live and work there. There has been work by the Step Forward project on networking, let's say, the educational sector and the business sector to make sure that these links are established firmly. There has been work on well, binding the local actors that do all their own part on talent generation and creation and retainment, and how can you make them work together? What can you do to get people from outside of the European Union to your region? Does this call for specific services and facilities? This has been addressed by the TAS project, and the Board Info project was dealing with the preparation, the facilitation of those workers that live in border areas and want to move or stay living where they do, but want to work on the other side of the border, which is not always as easy as it sounds. So how can you facilitate that? What do these projects result in? Just in general, to give you an impression, you get, as a result, you get analyses of trends, of developments, of opportunities within these different subsectors of the BrainFlow phenomenon. This results in the identification of good practices, what works, how can it be improved, how can it be transferred to other regions or other partners. They come up with tools and guidelines and policy measures that can be applied here and there. And of course, with concrete recommendations, how a regional policy can be improved to, well, to be more effective in retaining and managing talent and skill. Now, from these individual sub-projects that already have a very important contribution in their own right to the sector and the topic that they address, from the BrainFlow overall perspective, it would be very nice to make one step further. And this is where the consolidation comes in that I started talking about. Because what can we do if we try to bring together all these ideas and results and approaches that the individual sub-projects generate? It's very likely, we expect so, that we can find synergies and complementarities between these different approaches. Perhaps we can take something related to work with alumni and match it with how we can make people live in one country and work across the border and make this work even better in certain border regions. It's just an idea, but maybe we can find such synergies. So this is what we'll be looking for. This should allow us to make somewhat more comprehensive policy recommendations to all the partner regions of BrainFlow, to say not only have you been involved in sub-project A, B, and C, but if we look at D and E, we think that this could also be an approach that would work for you. And of course, if we have all this, let's say, output of the BrainFlow program together, it also makes for a very strong showcase of what you have all been working on in this program over the past few years to the actors in your region, and also to the outside world, to the European Union level, but to your fellow workers on talent and skills in other parts of Europe. So it's basically your legacy to the professional community that you work in and are a member of. Today, the focus is on the sub-projects. Consolidation comes later. It starts after today when the sub-projects are nearing their completion. So today we have the Talent Cup, where every sub-project is invited to participate in, well, a little bit of a beauty contest, if you like, to explain what they have been doing, what are their findings, what are the good practices that they are proud of, what policy recommendations could they produce, and of course, what's next? What needs to be done next to move ahead in your field? So basically, that's what we'll be listening to for the rest of this morning and this afternoon. Enjoy the show, and may the best win.